You're tuned to The Leading Edge with Sent, the pulse of cricket podcast. I'm Sent. Every week we bring you the stories, insights, and moments that drive this beautiful game. So hit the subscribe button and let's get straight into it. Welcome to The Leading Edge with Sent at around the podcast studio. So today I have a guest, a special one. A brief history. I'm not sure if my guest actually knows this. The first time I met my guest was actually at Langa Cricket Club. And on the day, it was actually Boland and the 16th team was playing against Western Province and the 16th team. It was a warm-up match for the, what do you call this thing? It was for the CSA weeks. So, yeah, Boland won that match. And at that time, they had the streak. And that streak was actually killed off. This past, was it November? I think November or December. Yeah, November. So, yes, my guest is Coach Adams. How are you, Coach?
I'm good in yourself, Saint.
I am good. So, yes, I'm not sure. I'm sure you probably remember the match. And
Yes, of course I do. That was actually the first match I was in charge of the under 16 girls of Boland. And as we all know, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Playing against Western Province. And actually that made me realize the talent pool that is lying in the Boland.
Yeah. And how was it in the sense of, again, it was your first match, and I'm pretty much sure some of your players, it was probably the first time they were playing in a township.
Yes.
And again, including Western Province players, if I remember, I was there. A lot of them as well. It was literally their first time. So it was, I don't know if one calls it a cultural exchange, but it was some sort of a cultural exchange that we probably don't get much of in our sport, you know, and it was an interesting one. It was an interesting one. So how was it on your end in terms of how did the players receive it, and how did even the parents in a sense receive it? Because when you go to townships, most of the time we think of bad facilities, but Langa has okay facilities, or actually adequate. Let me not even say okay. Let me not sell it down. Adequate. So how was that?
The first thing was the question from the parents. Is it safe for us to go in? Luckily, it's quite easy to explain and say it's a half a minute from the into, so you're not going into Langa.
Yeah.
However, people were surprised when they got there. Again, the playing service was beautiful. The clubhouse facilities had to have a look at some stage because we didn't really use the clubhouse. But yeah, it was, let me tell you, for some of the parents it was a cultural shock because they didn't expect what they got there.
Yeah.
Like I said, decent pitch, nice outfield, there was a bit of shading. And as the day prolonged, people got at ease, and especially with the cricket that was played, things were just so much easier and everybody was just more relaxed.
Yeah. So this was my introduction to Coach Gemau, even though I said Adams, but we tend to say Coach Gemau. So now you, in cricket, where did the bug start? I'm taking you back right now.
Yes. Way back in 1982, 83, my family is rugby people, crazy. So much so that my mother even played a bit of rugby in her younger days. A friend of mine, opposite neighbor, Sharif Khali, heavily into cricket with his dad and whatever. But some of my uncles, two of my mother's brothers, they used to play cricket, but not seriously. That was just like having them to do something to do in the summer.
Yeah.
And stay like fitish, can't say fit, fitish for the rugby season. And Sharif spent a lot of time with me in terms of batting and stuff. So it took me, he played at Primrose Cricket Club, and whilst we were living in Mitchell's Plain at that stage, and his dad played for Mitchell's Plain Cricket Club, which was Westridge Cricket Club at that stage. So I went to go join as a 11, 12-year-old, and it became a lifestyle, put it that way. Yes, I played provincial schools, rugby, cricket, bit of athletics, even a bit of tennis. But cricket was just the one that drew me in. I could also add that I do coach rugby, but it's easier. Rugby coaching is much easier than cricket.
Yeah.
In cricket coaching, each individual brings you something special, brings you something unique that you need to deal with. So yeah, in a nutshell, so since 1982, cricket has been part of my life.
And where does the coaching start? Or was there actually someone you're like, I like this coach and I want to do this? Because sorry, coach, because my understanding sometimes people tend to say, back in the day, coaches were not so important.
Right, like the name I mentioned, Sharif Khali. And then there was one of the club members at Westridge Cricket Club, Mr. Winston Roda. And then a guy called Lenny Thomas. Those were the guys I looked up at because they were the ones that taught me the basics of the game.
Yeah.
And but strange thing is in 1986, I played Western Province Primary Schools for the first time. And obviously I moved on to high school. But after the tournament, a friend of mine, Marcus van Wyk, lived down the road, also in Mitchell's Plain. So he never played club cricket, so he went to school somewhere in Athlone. I started just throwing balls at him and, get the basics, and I tried to carry over what I knew of the game. And lo and behold, the man made the Western Province Primary Schools team the next year. And I was the only coach he had. So that must have triggered something,
Yeah.
I reckon.
So it's a calling, would you call it that?
Definitely. Like I said, to me, cricket is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So much so my daughter is heavily into the business without me telling her, listen, you need to go play cricket. She just got home one day and said, Dad, you need to sign this. I'm playing cricket tomorrow. All the rest is history in terms of that, because she's also part of the Boland senior lady setup. But yeah, to me, it's about people. And what better vehicle for me to help, irrespective creed, color, background, to help to improve the human holistically, and not just cricket.
Yeah.
Even though cricket is the main vehicle, but that holistic, sometimes students or players get confused, especially the young ones I'm working with. I ask them, so by the way, what career are you thinking of, I've been looking to do this. So if you want to go in the medical field, for argument's sake, so what does your science marks look like? And then the maths marks, and say, so maybe you should think of something else, that type of thing. And then also the various backgrounds, from stinking rich to very poor. And to me, it's all needs to be handled at the same level. Everybody needs to get the same attention. So, and I think one of my strengths is people management. I try to manage people equally, whether it's skill-wise, whether it's mental preparation, physical preparation, it doesn't matter.
So, Coach, in the sense of, you talk about people management, and would you say coaches have their own strengths? And if there are strengths, how would you classify different types of coaches? In the sense of, are those that maybe are good at just wanting to win, or these coaches are winners, these are good at man management, these are good at maybe teaching development skills per se, or that just comes with team culture?
Definitely, you get your different coaches. There's all these talks now about type of centered coach, winning centered, player centered, technical centered, tactical centered. So certain individuals are strong at certain things, coaching technical skills very well. Then there's those with tactical skills. Maybe technical is not that well. Can't teach a cover drive or a player to bowl in a certain way. But they can sum up match situations and share that with the team. And then you also have that sympathetic and empathetic coaches. They're normally the back of the line, I feel.
Yeah.
Because they want to keep everybody happy. unfortunately in coaching is you can't be popular and effective.
That's true.
Yeah, so it's either if you are popular, people tend to walk over you. Not that you don't want to be challenged, but they try, sometimes overstep the boundaries in terms of the challenges they pose to coaches. And and look, popularity, yeah, it's good. People should know you, but how effective are you? To me, effectiveness, and seeing, especially in the framework I'm working in, the development of the players, maturing in the game as well as a human being. So yes, you do get coaches with different types of strengths, and obviously where there's strengths, there's weaknesses
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. And if you're not willing to work on your weaknesses or minimize the weaknesses, as a coach, you're going to struggle.
Follow-up question to that actually is that sense of now we have parents, we have coaches, we have the unions or schools, and all of these have to work together. But most of the time, they don't actually work together. And the parents want their kids to play. If they're not performing, it's probably the coach's fault. The coach probably wants a team that's functioning. But in order for the team to function, sometimes maybe the school needs to give the support or the union needs to give the support to the coach. But some schools or some unions don't give the needed support, but they still want the results. How does this relationships work so that they actually help the player most of the time, which is the child in development cricket?
Right. The the advantage I have is I have a daughter playing the sport.
Yes.
So I need to manage myself in terms of parent and coach, which helped me in my profession because now I can speak to the parents, the all the other role players from a coach's perspective as well as a parent perspective. Because my daughter is a hard worker, right? Natural talent, but she needs to work very, very hard at it. So normally when you get those exceptional players that doesn't need to work that hard, they do their thing, whatever. There's always the type of thing that late in life they tend to fall a bit back. So I do think I have that ability to spot where there's a bit of complacency coming into the games because that is also important, and honesty with the parents, with the unions, with the schools, with the coaches, because one of the major issues in the game is, especially where you have parents that have a bit of money that can afford private coaches for the kids. So there need to be synergy between the private coach, the school coach, the club coach, the provincial coach, and the hub coach. So everybody needs, especially when there's a talented player that has been identified, that there's synergy between all those role players in that player's life. But the main thing is honesty.
In such a instance, you mentioned the private coach, you mentioned the school coach and hub coach will probably be the same, and then you have your provincial coach. Who takes a higher say in terms of the player, in the sense of the private coach tends to look at probably the technical things. Then you have your hub coach slash school coach who probably looks at a team because the player playing a team. And the provincial coach does not have that much time with the player. And honestly, they're working towards 1 week in a year, but trying to make sure that this player is seen nationally.
Ideally,
Yes.
in the
Yes.
ideal world,
Yes.
the provincial coach needs to be in conversation with all those role players, right? Unfortunately, it's not always possible. If I can take Boland for an example, the broad area that we cover, you don't always have it like the players that you really need for the provincial coach to work with on a one-on-one basis. It's not always possible. Sometimes I would drive out to a Caledon, I would drive out to Worcester, wherever, or even Vredenburg for that matter, just to go and spend some time, but it's not adequate enough always. The main thing is when the players get to the provincial setup, they need to understand each and everyone's role within the team. You might be a top order batter at your club or your school. You might be used as a bowling all-rounder for argument's sake, so you'll be batting lower than 6 within the provincial setup.
Yeah.
So as a provincial coach, that message needs to go through loud and clear so that everybody understand the role of the player within the provincial team. Because at the end of the day, as a provincial coach, my task is to prepare them to get a possible professional contract from provincial schools, working the way through.
True. And it's an interesting one, what you just said, in the sense of a player, for example, can be a top order batter at their school or hub or RPC. And a provincial, they're probably batting at 6, more of a finisher role because probably they're able to hit the ball hard. But now the issue is that they don't practice that role in terms of that 6 or finisher role because that's a specialist role. Week in, week out at their club, they just playing in the top order. Top order, you have time. Now, they come into this provincial setup and they're expected to learn this. Isn't it also necessarily a challenge for you or any provincial coach in the sense of, ish, I don't have much time and the player sees themselves as this, but I really see them as this going forward within the future?
That's why I said right in the beginning, there needs to be conversation between the coaches from the club or school, hub, wherever, up in the provincial. So, you ask your school coach or your club coach, work on power hitting, work on certain strokes, where it is more necessary to play in your lower order or middle to lower order than as to in the top order. So far, in the past 9 years, it works for me. And I think it's simply because of the communication with the player and the parents. It's not always that I get to the private coaches. And even we shouldn't underestimate the ability of the players within the team. As long as the message is clear and they understand. And if it works, great stuff. If it doesn't work, it doesn't mean you can't play. You just need to go back and improve on that specific skill.
You are a coach currently you coach the Boland under 16 and the Boland under 19. Those are 2 jobs that are probably at times are kind of different because the under 16 players, some of them, they're still quite new into cricket. But once they reach under 19, they're supposed to have a certain level of skills going into So how do you manage those 2 roles? Because I know, I'm not going to say how I know this, but I do know that you just got into that role and it wasn't necessarily by choice, but it was more of circumstances as the union needed you to take over both roles. And with December tends to be a hectic for you because you finish one week and you quickly go to another week.
Yeah, look, I think it is, for me, it works. It works fantastically. Reason being, you get that continuity in terms of selection, in terms of knowing the players, learning them, learning to know them. Female, with all due respect, is emotional beings. I've learned a lot of patience within the girls and ladies frame. Look, in terms of the workload, especially in December, it's hectic. It's tiring, but also very satisfying. Especially where we're at in terms of the results. Look, to me, the results is not that important. But if you look at from where we started, we lost one under 16 game past December and under 19s gained promotion. So far so good. Hopefully it can improve as we go along. my next step is to identify the next crop of under 13 girls coming through, so that we can have a track on them, and see how they perform, and develop to possibly get selected into the under 16s, after that under 19s and so on.
And now, as a coach, how does this go for you? For example, you see this player is very talented. You know, you saw them from under 13, under 16, under 19. And now, I'm not going to say there's no opportunities, but for women, there's no cults, or some extra situation before they get to senior. So if they don't make the senior team at under 19, they tend to get lost in the sense of even club cricket is there, but it's just necessarily club cricket. There's nothing in between to keep them within the unions, all of them actually.
Right. I'm going to make a practical example
Yeah.
now. These players that was drawn in to the Boland senior ladies side, that was part of the under 19s, that wasn't part of the senior ladies, simply because they didn't have a good performance against Eastern Province. And obviously, our senior coaches, they spotted, because they obviously asked me
Yeah.
who's next in line. So mentioned a couple of names, and they're part of the senior lady setup now. Unfortunately, the strength versus strength in terms of club cricket is not up to standard currently in the Boland. That's something that we're working on. The Boland T20 is also looking now at the under 23
Okay.
competition, and then they're starting the new season with under 13s as well, as which they only had under 19s in the past.
Yes.
So there's also a bit of development, and I actually want to thank the Boland T20, because our girls is playing much more cricket now. Where in the past, some of the girls only played like competitive cricket at the national weeks. But with them getting on board with the Boland T20 competition, got so much game time, and you can see the maturity of the girls and how they handle the pressure during the national weeks, simply because they play more cricket. And that is what we need to strive for. More cricket and more cricket.
And another, talking about cricket as well, varsities, tertiary institutions, there's no cricket. You're not getting your Verts playing your UCT, and UCT doesn't currently have a team, for example. You have your UWC, they do have a team, but they're not necessarily, there's no your USASA or something like that. Does that also kind of hurt, or is that something where, because my opinion, I do feel, Ogoba, we are losing some players, and could have been an opportunity to probably give 2-3 bursaries to play within these institutions, but that's not the situation compared to
From
the
from the bit I know, UWC is the only institution that gives cricket or maybe sport bursaries.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from UCT, Martis, nope, CPUT, no. So you're absolutely right. So these opportunities going and begging for these girls,
Goals.
because look, most of the kids that play sport, they're not the brightest of students, because their focus is somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if there is a bit of a backing and a carrot hanging there and saying, listen, you can get 80, 90, or even a full bursary at a tertiary institution, surely it will be a boosting factor for the girls in wanting to better academically as well.
Yeah.
So they can go to those institutions.
And it also keeps them in the game for longer.
Absolutely.
It literally keeps them in the game for longer. Now, team-wise, something that I tend to look at teams at is the environment, the culture. And we spoke about the winning culture. And there's different type of cultures with you and your teams. How do you create an environment, and how to create a culture in this sense? Knowing the backgrounds of the country and all the everything, but this is about you. So
First and foremost, there's a witness here in the room. When it comes to culture, I first look at the cultural background. So, in Amioli and in Tatile, you want the room. Let's start there. And I'm also the one that breaks those conversations during game times and practices. It's not deliberate because of the language barriers and all that stuff, but I encourage them to mix with each other. And let's break that cultural barrier first. Now we develop the skill. Now we look at to develop the winning culture. Because to me, the winning culture is right
At the
at
end.
the end. So let's bridge the background culture first. Then we work on the technical side and the tactical side. And then we look at the winning culture. The winning culture actually would be actually came a bit too fast. If I look at where we're at the moment. Like I said, there is a bit more cricket played for girls in the Boland. And I'd like to compliment the Boland T20 organizers for really putting out the necks and try to get more
women.
girls and women involved within the game on the field, as per se.
Is it hard, coach, in the sense of, it's so easy for the boys in the sense of probably a boy goes to a specific school and there's a specific culture already that's there. So they are told this is how you should be, this is how you should act, accept each other. And to be honest, in the sense of you look when you watch TV, you've seen your McCantins, you've seen your Paul Adams, your Herschel Gibbs mixing with the other players itself. So they see that. But when it comes to women's cricket, not even today, you don't see women's cricket on SABC. So Proteas women won't play on SABC if you don't have your high package DSTV. You'll probably go. You've never seen Ayabonga Kaka. You've never seen Masabata class. You hear about Lucina Lojafta or you hear about Karabo Meso, but you don't see these players itself. So you don't see them interacting with your probably Lara Kudal, your Sunelus, Laura. You don't see that mixture. Or again, you said players can be emotional or people want to see role models and team culture. So, and you trying to get all of this thing, how difficult it is to coach all of this.
Firstly, let me start by saying that historically, women's sport in general wasn't really recognized all over the world. And now with a whole lot of focus on gender equality and stuff, most sports is still male dominated. And when it comes to spending, the male get that preference. I'm a guy as well. But that is the reality. And more resources should be put in not only women's cricket or girls' cricket, in all sports, right? Bridging that cultures or getting through to everybody, it's not as easy as it's being said. For argument's sake, as a coach, I would ask, sisters, let's mix up. 20 minutes later, you'll find them again. Everyone in the cultural groups, like Afrikaans is big in the Boland. And I don't know how well Amioli has adapted to the Afrikaans story. I know she can hear it. I don't know whether she listens and understands. Yeah. However, she does have a friends of her. You can correct me if I'm wrong. There is one or two, and I think most of the girls is starting to get used to it. Fortunately, this generation doesn't really know. They didn't live in the apartheid era. So the new generation comes a bit easier, but it will take some time for everybody to really understand what the real situation is and what we as coaches is looking forward to, what we dream of. One team, one nation, that type of situation. So in my humble corner, I try to prepare them for look, if they get selected to the national side or whatever, they can integrate as easy as possible.
And you're talking about the national side now. There was recently a under 19 team that's going to Nigeria, and one of your Boland players was selected, Danelli Bischoff. Melissa van der Merwe was recently selected. And then you also have Mia, who's probably in contention. So there's something happening at Boland. Unfortunately, one of your, I would say, bright players that came from Boland, the lady who's at Giselle, my prince. I do feel they're not playing her the way that I believe she should. But there's something happening at Boland, but it's struggling to get to that next level. And how would you identify and say that the next boost that's probably needed to get there? Because in terms of a young core, it is there, but it just needs.
The girls need to get to play in the Pro League. Once in the Pro League, obviously there's tougher competition. They will earn a salary to play the game, so they'll practice more. So the focus will then be solely on, or should solely be, on their careers as cricketers. Currently, Boland is quite close. Hopefully there's some other teams that need to sort out at the National Week that starts on the 30th of this month in Bloemfontein. And if things go according to plan and Boland do get the promotion, obviously they're going to need your Giselles back home and some more experienced players that used to play but the core should stay or should be in and around the squad, and they shouldn't felt left out, but keep on improving, because there's going to be another character they'll be playing in the Pro Leagues is to earn a living from it
and stay there
and stay there. So the moment Boland gains that promotion, it will be a total different film. Yes, we're pushing, we're working hard and getting the girls and the ladies ready to step up. In amongst those three that you've mentioned, a girl like Samika Williams was identified at the under 16 week. I think she's one of the quickest bowlers in her age group. I think she can compete with under 19 girls as well, because she's still under 16 coming season. Michelle Meyer was also identified, so we could keep her better. So yes, these are a lot of positives. Hopefully we can get more girls into, even if they're just being invited to a CSA tap camp, so that they can start believing that they can do this thing. So yeah. Like I said, hopefully, there'll be more opportunities for more girls, and it just means, I'm putting extra weight on my shoulders, but I'm willing to carry it just to see the development, the holistic development of players. Like I said in the beginning, not only as cricketers, but in life as well.
I actually hope CSA, including Hollywood Bets, change things up just a bit, in the sense of, I know there's this top 6, but I feel like it should be top 8, just like with the gents, where it's literally top 8, because I feel you have Eastern Province, you have Boland, you have Easterns, and then you have your right now Free State. And I feel like those 4 teams, they're actually a cut above, not all due respect to the other teams. Because in Mpumalanga does have some really good young players, but they are a cut above the others. And maybe they should be playing their own promotional, but I do feel like we can have that 8 from those 2 teams, because honestly speaking,
ideally,
talent-wise,
yes, ideally, yes. The powers it be.
yes, talent-wise.
Talent-wise is there. Budgets.
Yeah.
That is the issue. So hopefully, yeah, we talk about gender equality. there's 8 teams in the men tier. Why not 8 teams in the ladies tier?
Yes.
And I agree with you fully. Absolutely. And it will be more job opportunities
That's
for
true.
players as well as coaches
Yeah.
and administrators and your physios and your bios. And, it's a great job creating opportunity. Should there be 2 extra teams within the top tier?
And with that, probably will also help in the sense of maybe, I don't, okay, one thing I've noticed about provincial coaches in terms of development, like your youth coaches, that you guys have to be everything, by the way. You run that ship alone. Yes, you'll have your assistant, but sometimes the assistant comes in really late.
They only come in, say, a month or so before the national week. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be a physio, you have to be a parent, you have to be a mentor,
Psychologist.
a psychologist, yes, and all of these things. And hopefully one day, I hope CSA, maybe they'll have money or funding with the government where they actually understand that having a coach and each team probably having its own strength and conditioning coach, physio, might actually even help with getting athletes, making the girls becoming more athletic, including the boys. I'm not just talking about for them, so that it literally lessens the burden. Because one thing I do understand about coaching is that if you are teaching someone how to bowl, or you can't be a bowling coach in a session and a batting coach, it's either all you're going to do, you're just going to look at the players, but you won't able to give them that one-on-one. I understand you do have someone that does help you every now and again, but again, he's not there full-time basis. That's just my hope or dream one day for cricket.
And just to sum it up, currently it's working for me to an extent, but I'm getting younger.
Yeah.
And yes, that extra help is always welcome, especially when it comes to the medical side of things, your physios, your biokineticists, even team doctors and that type of stuff. That will just make the coach's job so much easier. So you can focus on the cricket aspect, But for now, like I said, it's the whole package.
Yeah. And then one other contention part that I wanted to talk about, Coach, is that we spoke about teams. I looked at the current SA under 19 side, it was a boys. And usually we tend to have this law that says there has to be a black African batter in the top 6. But when I looked at the current SA under 19 team, is that we only had like one black batter in that under 16 side, which was Lahadin. You looked at the SA under 19 team that played at the World Cup that reached the final. You had Ukarabo Meso, but Uluyanda Nzuza was part of the team, but she wasn't really seen as more of a batter within that sense. And you look at even the SA team, the gents, the one that played in this T20 World Cup, which was good. Let's be honest, there was no black or even black batter. And usually before, we used to have that black batter, we get JP Domini, Ashwell Prince, but it seems like we are losing maybe those players, and those results will come later on. They may not show right now. What is it that we need to probably keep on doing so that things improve? Or what is it that needs to be done that things improve? So I'm not even looking at this more on the males. It's a male and woman
It is
issue.
a very, very contentious issue. It's not an easy thing to talk about, especially if you are in the premier.
Yeah.
We try to develop, and we throw the balls. We get the players there. Cricket is a numbers game. Unfortunately, if you don't put the numbers on the board, you won't be selected in your top sides.
Yeah.
So much so that at all the national weeks, you need to have your players of color in your top sixes. Um, it's a very tough one, especially when you need to talk about it, because there's certain realities that we need to face in terms of, are the players really as talented as we want to
want them
see them to be, or we perceive them to be? Are they really good enough once they need to step up? Where's our next team Baba Vuma going to come from? That is a real question. You know, I'm so glad Sanala got the first 50 in a 50th game. Hopefully it will get more consistent in terms of a run getting ability. But that's two names mentioned. Where's the rest? You know, so yeah, from my side as a coach, pushing, getting them there, get the necessary talks. If there's a skill that I would struggle with and get someone to help that our players of color, getting them ready to play at the top level, by all means. At this stage, so saak vir gebed is in Afrikaans. We need to pray for these kids and get them at the level.
Yeah, because I asked this coach in the sense of, at development cricket, they are there, but it seems like something literally happens. But it's not like coaches are not giving the time of the day. And maybe it's because some maybe do get that private coach. Something happens in winter. Some don't really play cricket, because there's this other contention that's happening where some people say, because you mentioned something specific, you play different sports. You know, and now there's a situation where some people are specializing quite early, where a player is just playing one sport as well. And maybe some during winter, they just stick with cricket. Maybe they'll play their rugby for whatever, or their hockey, but they're just sticking with cricket itself. Whereas maybe others are not playing a specific sport, or they're not taking it serious, or something like that. I know it's combinations, like this is not a solution. How do you look at this? And last part, in the sense of specializing, when do you say a player should start just playing cricket, only cricket, or should they just continue to play other sports?
It differs, because you look at a guy like Riley Norton, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
He captained Boland under 19 SA schools cricketing wise. He captained rugby wise Western Province, as well as
SA under 19.
SA under 19. So he went the rugby route. If it's the right decision that he made, he will find out. Well, currently, I think he's signed with the Stormers. It goes from person to person. I'm not going to say he starts specializing at 13, 15, 17. There could be a guy that decided maybe rugby is his thing, or soccer is his thing, and end up being a pro cricketer, Lungi and Gedi, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Was heavy into rugby, he's a pro cricketer now. So
it happens.
So it happens.
And we're about to end this chat, and I feel like there's still a lot that I need to talk with Coach. But, Coach, winter is coming. We spoke about players in the sense, ideally, when it comes to players that do play cricket in the summer, during winter, what should their program probably be?
Right. So I'm going to do now from the Boland perspective, and now I'm planning to do things like I used to do it in the past. It was a lack last season. So my under 16 girls trials is starting the 14th next week. Next weekend, next Saturday, and the under 19s is the following. So we're going to look at maybe playing a couple of T20 matches and identify at least 24 girls in each age group and work with them in the winter. We'll have certain sessions where we say this is a trial net, so no coaching. And then there'll be other sessions where I get in some extra coaches and work on skills, whether you're a batter, bowler, or whatever the case may be, a wicket keeper, right? And we work on skills. Say for these four, say we work for 3 weekends in the month. At least one of those will be a skill session.
Yeah.
Where we not just look at who's going to make the final 13, but also improve the skills of the others that won't make the team and maybe come in contention later, because you do get your late bloomers, you know, so that they can also have an understanding of what is expected for me to get into the provincial side in terms of my technical ability. So yeah. So for me is, and if it's affordable for parents, maybe work through school or sponsor something, try and get a coach that can work with the individual on a one-on-one basis. And yeah, and then obviously there needs to be communication between provincial, club, hub, and school coaches.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
And one last part. How important are hub coaches in our cricket culture? Because they don't get enough love, especially women's cricket.
Fortunately, I was in there.
Yeah.
I was the Paul RPC head coach before I moved into it. It is of critical importance. Because at the end of the day, they are the ones that put in the hard yards in getting that basics installed into the players. And I don't know what the salary bracket is now, but I think they need to earn more.
Yeah.
Look, money makes the world go round. If you pay a guy extra, you obviously put in some extra hours, or 99% of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about remunerating the people working hard. I remember Nasser Hussain with the first COVID test, England versus West Indies in England.
Yeah.
Nasser Hussain mentioned that the coaches that's earning the most money should be at grassroots level and not your international and test coaches, because those are the guys that make sure those. Because as an even provincial international coach, you don't need to teach the players cricket.
Nah, it's more game management.
Game management and mental approach and that sense. But the guys that's doing the hard work, it's like in the building construction. The labourer works the hardest and he earns it the least.
That's a good way to end this conversation. Coach, thank you very much. Hopefully we have you back again
Anytime.
closer to the summer when you're done with the trials, telling us what's next, what's your plan, because these type of conversations as well, have them just to. I'm currently doing my level 2.
Good luck.
So we learn as new coaches, we learn, and the best way to learn is through specific conversations, not just by doing or watching you do your warm-ups, So just having these conversations. So thank you very much, Coach.
Look, Viv Richard mentioned, and I'm going to finish with this one. Once he knows everything of cricket, he's going to step out of it. He's still involved doing commentary and coaching here and there. So yeah, I'm also learning by the day. This is my 34th year as a formal coach. So yeah, I'm getting old. And if there's anything that anyone needs to know and where I can help, I'll gladly assist.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you, Coach. We end it here. Please don't forget to subscribe. And that's it for Leading Edge with Scent in this episode number 19 with Coach Gemau, Leading Edge with Scent. We are out. Don't forget to subscribe. Yes, we're out. Thanks for tuning in to the Leading Edge with Scent, the Pulse of Cricket podcast, proudly produced by Roundly Podcast Studio in partnership to bring you the stories and the voices of cricket. Until next time, stay on the leading edge of the game.